What is up, everyone? JD here. I hope you're all doing well today. Today I'm going to be bringing you the full review of the QSP Ospray. What we'll be doing today is going through the knife specs. We'll do some size comparisons to give you an idea and reference for the size of this particular knife, and then we'll jump into my thoughts and impressions. All right, let's go ahead and jump into it. So the Osprey has a 3.25 inch 14C 28N blade steel. Really nice steel for this price. 4.25 inch handles. I do have the green micarta handles here. Overall length coming in at 7.5 inches. Could not find a weight on the knife, so we're just going to go ahead and weigh it and see what it comes at in on camera. So it is coming in at 3.3, so probably right around where you would find most knives this size coming in weight wise. Rockwell hardness on the 14C 28N on the website, claiming that it was coming in at 58 to 60 Rockwell. A little low. I think I'd like to see this be at least 59. But not too awful, especially if you get the 60 variant, but 59 to 61, like you see for most of the Chinese knives, as far as how they heat treat everything coming over. And the price on this one is coming in at 48 bucks. So we'll circle back to that in just a second. Let's go ahead and jump into some size references. We'll bring out the Demco AD 20.5. As you can see, the Osprey is just right on par with this. Got a little bit more blade length, but pretty close. And the Spyderco Shaman, which is going to be a little bit bigger overall. So hopefully this helps a little bit for size reference. We'll go ahead and move the Demco out of the way and bring in the Bug Out. And while we're here, we'll go ahead and move the Shaman out of the way as well. Bring in the Hogue Sig K320. So as you can see, this is pretty much on par, just a little bit shorter on blade length. I mean, just a hair on blade length, but it's pretty much the same size as the Bug Out. Let's go ahead and move the Sig out of the way, and we'll bring in a budget knife, the Civivi Praxis, for size reference, and then we'll move this Bug Out of the way, and we'll bring in the Vosteed Raccoon. And as you can see, this is basically the same size as the Raccoon, and I think it's a great size for EDC. Let's go ahead and move the Praxis out of the way, and let's do some size comparisons for profile thickness. First, we'll go up against the Raccoon. The Rock's dead. Lord have mercy, I wish. The Raccoon, as you can see, it is identical in thickness there. We'll bring out the Bug Out, and you can see the Bug Out is a little bit thinner, and we'll bring out the Shaman, and as you can see, the Shaman is going to be just a touch thicker, so that should help you understand the size and dimensions on this knife, how it's going to feel in hand and how it's going to carry. Let's go ahead and jump into the ergos. First, I'm going to start with this micarta. It is pretty typical QSP micarta. It has a little tackiness to it, but it is a little bit smoother than, say, some of the micarta that you would find on some Civivi or Sencut knives. You have a nice micarta backspacer, steel liners that sit flush with the scales. It does have a little bit, this particular model does not have any milled out weight reduction on the steel liners. They're solid steel liners, good access to the lock bar. It's a little tight, actually, if I'm honest, but the jimping is what helps with the access to it, so you can get into it, but it is a little tight and is a little uncomfortable. The lockup too, coming in at about 10%, it is sticking a little. So I will, in the disassembly video, address how to alleviate that lock stick. It could be that there's a burr or something that's going on with the lock bar, and it looks fairly clean. Let's see here. It looks fairly clean on the actual carve out, but again, I'll address that in the disassembly video. As far as the ergonomics, it is just outside of a 4-finger grip for me when you get behind the flipper tab. And behind the flipper tab, with the thumb over top of the index finger with the push cuts, you could run into the sharpening choil. So I would probably say choke up on top of the flipper tab, and you actually have a pretty comfortable grip. You got additional space for all 4 fingers. You can easily get into the push grip, and it has a decent geometry. It is not the thinnest for certain, but it's not thick either. I would call it a medium geometry. The satin or belt satin finish on here looks pretty good on the 14C28N. I do like that a lot. And the edge from the factory is not too bad. It actually slices pretty well. And when I tested it on some cardboard, it seemed to cut through that very well. So no issues with the factory edge whatsoever. It seems like QSP did a pretty good job. Now, here's the interesting part of this particular knife. 14C28N, ceramic bearings in the pivot, liner lock with a reversible deep carry pocket clip that is a wire clip, and a micarta backspacer. All of this is for less than $50. That is a very cool price point, and I do think that this could potentially be a really good knife. Now, we'll check after I do the disassembly and tuning that lock bar to see if the action improves any, because right now it's a little dry out, feeling like it needs to either be lubed or broken in. That would probably be my one complaint. The other thing too, this is all wire pocket clips. It just moves around a lot when you're, handling it in hand. It doesn't poke, but you feel it kind of squirm around depending on what you're working on when you grip it enough. And then when you're actuating the lock bar, I feel it move around too, because I use the pocket clip for leverage for my other fingers. But outside of that, the wire pocket clip is fine. I'd be curious to see if the Lynch Northwest fits on here. It looks a little small, so I'm thinking that it probably does not. The micarta backspacer, actually, I like the fact that it has the texturing out here. Doesn't prioritize over the pocket clip either. So this is okay with me. And again, I think it looks really nice and is a nice little touch. The complaint I have is I do think all of the polished finishes, while it is refined, does kind of cheapen the knife for me a little bit. I think if they could have done like an acid wash, stone wash, it would have looked a little bit better, or even blacked out the liners at the very least. And the hardware, I think it looked a little bit better. But again, this is coming with 14C28N and micarta on a liner lock under $50. Typically from Kaiser, from Civivi, from Kubi, you're going to be paying over $50, sometimes closer to $70 for a knife that has these types of materials on it. So very impressive offering from this knife. Do I recommend this knife? For under $50, it is going to be kind of hard to beat that. There's a couple of sin cuts out there. You have the Bronte, which is a completely different styled knife. You have the Saxi and you have the Watuga that I think are pretty interesting for around that $50 price point as well, but those come with 9CR and or D2 steel. You do have the Vosteed Raccoon that comes in under $60, but instead of 14C28N micarta on a liner lock, you're getting a button lock. So a little bit of a difference there that I think that you could find. Or if you're looking for something much larger, I am again going to recommend the Civivi Praxis. It has excellent ergos, a really thin slicey blade, but it is only coming with 9CR 18 MOV as opposed to 14C28N, which I think is a superior blade steel. Overall, do I recommend this knife? Yes, this is a recommendable knife. I think as long as the action clears up a little bit once I do the disassembly and I'm able to easily address the lock stick that's going on with the lock bar, I would recommend this knife. So I would say it's going to be a to be continued. I like the value and the size for just a basic EDC, very simple and straightforward. But tune in for the disassembly, and you can do that by liking this video to help me with today's video and subscribing to turn on your notifications so you don't miss that alert when that drops. Thanks to everyone out there that is already subscribed. I appreciate each and every one of you, all the likes and comments. You guys are awesome. I hope you have a fantastic week, and until next time, peace.